fraud via mail-in voting already happens. Not speculating. Do you have Google? Look it up. Ballot harvesting is the problem. Ballot harvesting is a process in which a third party collects and then turns in ballots on behalf of another person. It's only possible with mail-in ballots. Obviously, you can't do it with in-person voting. Laws around ballot harvesting vary from state to state. It's currently legal in 27 U.S. states, but Democrats want to legalize it in all 50, and they want it to be as unrestricted as possible. I wonder why. Their most recent coronavirus relief bill in the House decrees that all states, quote, shall permit a voter to designate any person to return a voted and sealed absentee ballot, end quote. The only restriction on this would be that ballot harvesters cannot be paid based on the number of ballots they collect. But of course, you could easily evade that. A campaign could pay a canvasser for their time or the distance they traveled, and that would all be perfectly legal. So that sentence could change this country forever. The ways it could invite fraud are obvious. Think about it for 10 seconds. With unlimited ballot harvesting, there is no state supervision, no chain of custody, no limit on the amount of ballots a single person can collect. Ballot harvesters could go to people's homes, and they do in California. They pressure them to vote, or to vote the right way, or they help a person read through a ballot while nudging them on whom to vote for. But why stop there? A ballot harvester could ask or pay a person to sign and turn over a blank ballot, or they could trick them into handing over their vote with an unsealed envelope, allowing the harvester to fill in incomplete ballots, or simply throw away ballots that don't vote the right way. We're not saying that all of these methods of frauds are equally likely. You probably could prevent some of them with safeguards. But the point is this: universal mail-in voting with ballot harvesting massively expands the potential for voter fraud, and it makes a mockery of the secret ballot. I don't care what Twitter tells you, that's true. It's obvious, and by the way, it's been documented. In the past decade, most battles over voter fraud have centered around whether to require an ID to vote, like most every other country does. But in some ways, that's a distraction. We should have voter ID laws, but that's not the real issue. A 1998 report by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement described absentee ballot fraud as the, quote, tool of choice for those who want to steal an election. Again, it's not a theoretical risk. Actual voter fraud has happened, despite what they tell you, all over the country. In North Carolina, by the way, it was Republicans who did it. A Republican victory in a congressional race was overturned after it was discovered that political operatives were collecting blank or incomplete ballots and then filling them out and turning them in. In New Jersey in 2013, not in 1813, 2013, a city councilman was caught paying operatives to travel door to door after mail-in ballots were distributed, telling people who to vote for and offering them $50. Texas has had multiple prosecutions for illegal vote harvesting. Why don't they mention that on television? In 2016, Westlake County Commissioner Guadalupe Rivera won a local election by just 16 votes. Later, Rivera was convicted of illegally assisting people in filling out absentee ballots. So a new election had to be ordered, and Rivera lost. According to the county clerk, Kara Sands, ballot harvesting fraud involves political operatives who target and exploit the vulnerable. Often that means homebound individuals who are too confused to realize their votes are being stolen. You don't think this happens? Oh, yes, it does. Ask anyone who's honest, who's ever covered an election in this country. It happens. In California, ballot harvesting is already almost totally unrestricted. In the midterms, last cycle, 2018, a voter registrar in Orange County described people dropping off hundreds of ballots at a time. Hundreds. 250,000 votes appeared from previously inactive voters who hadn't voted in at least 4 years. 7 Republican candidates were leading on election night, only to lose weeks later thanks to harvested ballots that were tallied days or even weeks later.